Men are invisible, more invisible than they ever have been before. And it's crazy to even realize that as a man, you cannot be seen. Your opinions don't matter. Your life doesn't matter. People don't know you. People don't hear you. You have zero influence in the world. And it sucks. And I've felt that before. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to tell you my story so you understand where I'm coming from. I've never been, the person that you see now, the man that you see that you're watching through this screen was not that same man 10 years ago. Right? I was not the person who was charismatic on camera. I was not the person who was able to speak my mind. I wasn't the person who could articulate myself. I wasn't the person. I was very introverted. I was very shy, and I did not have any respect. I had zero visibility in society. I felt like literally I was a third person watching things happen and only reacting and not actually attacking life. So I want to tell you a little bit about my story. So I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, right? I grew up in the projects. I grew up in complete poverty. We were on food stamps. We were moving around. We were moving from place to place. Grandfather's house in Canarsie, grandmother's house in Troy Avenue, Crown Heights, moving in different projects, living in very shitty conditions, right? But I owned it because why? I didn't know better. I didn't know what the other world had to offer. I didn't know what the other parts of the United States had to offer. That was all I knew, right? I spent about 2 or 3 years in Haiti and came back to the U.S. as well, but I didn't know. And so growing up in that environment, I had so many limiting beliefs, poverty. I didn't really understand money. I didn't understand how abundant money really was. It was so scarce to me. My mom would always tell me money doesn't grow on trees. Can't afford this, can't afford that. And I remember moving to Arizona because I was getting ready to get into, gang influence and being, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, getting converted to be a Crip, going through friends who were doing robberies. And I was getting tuned to that, drugs. I was starting to get exposed to that very early. And my mom was very smart. And she told my dad, they're both still together, let's move over to Arizona, right? And we packed our bags. We moved to Arizona. I was afraid because it was a new environment. And I remember being in Arizona and being extremely out of place and feeling invisible for years, through elementary school, through junior high school, through high school. I just felt invisible. I was the kid that everyone laughed at. I was the kid that everybody didn't believe would ever succeed, even though in my heart of hearts, I knew, and you're watching this video right now, you know that you have something bigger for you. You know that you're destined for more, but nobody else sees it around you. Everyone discourages you, telling you that you're not going to be this and you're not going to be that. They just laugh at it. And that's how I felt for years. I tried to make the basketball team. I got cut. Everyone laughed at me. I finally made it, and I made varsity because I have the resiliency which you need to have in this world as a man. You need to have resiliency. If you don't have resiliency, you're not going to be able to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And so throughout this time, I was really just trying to get out of that invisibility. And I finally got the opportunity to play college basketball at Babson College, number 2 best college in the United States of America, number 1 entrepreneurial school in the country, right? I got an experience to do that. And I had grown up in poverty. I didn't know much. I didn't know anything at all. I was very new to the world. I was green. Women weren't coming after me. I was the average guy, right? I wasn't too low on the status hierarchy, on the social hierarchy, but I wasn't high either. So I didn't have my picks. I had to just take what I got, right? And so when I got to college, it got even worse because now the social pressures were kicking, right? It's like, man, how am I gonna compete with these guys? I was going to a school where there's a bunch of rich kids, right? My friends had some money. I had one of my closest friends, Tommy. He was similar to me where we grew up in a very rough area. I had another friend, Cartel, who grew up in a rough area. I had another friend, Ethan, who he grew up in a pretty affluent area, but at the same time, we all came together as friends. And I remember it was so hard for me. I had such imposter syndrome because I didn't have any money, right? I didn't have anything. I didn't have a name for myself. I went to a college I went to a high school that not many people knew. I didn't have a state championship ring like my friend Ethan had. That he had status when he came in. And I was really just the kid who was skinny, scrawny, nobody could pay attention to. And it got to a certain point where there was a light switch that happened, right? And I realized I didn't want to live this life of invisibility anymore. I didn't want to be the guy who was constantly overlooked. I wanted to stop being the guy who could never achieve his potential, who every single year it was potential, achieving nothing. Right? So I started getting in the gym. I quit playing basketball for this team right before the season started. And I remember the coach literally yelled at me, screamed at me, said, "How could you give up on the team? You got recruited to the school for basketball." In my mind, I'm like, I'm not the monkey that you recruited me to be. Like, I want to have my education. I want to be able to be doing good in life. I want to do more than just play basketball. I'm at a Division III school. I'm not going to the NBA. I was very intelligent when it came to that. But when I stopped playing basketball, and me quitting was a cascading effect to other players quitting as well, because I opened their eyes, right? I didn't even realize the amount of influence I even had at that time. But I made it a point to get in the best shape of my life. I wanted to get jacked. I wanted to build muscle. I wanted to stop feeling invisible. That was my first step. And when that happened in 3 months, and in that summer, I'll never forget, the summer of 2016, I believe, or the summer of 2015. It was the summer of 2015. When I came back, the amount of attention I got, the presence that I developed, right? I was no longer the shy kid. I was no longer the kid that nobody knows anymore. I was no longer the kid that was always picked last. My name was finally starting to get recognized. And this was important to me because at the end of the day, I'm the last breed of Metellus. I'm the only one left. I'm not being dramatic. My father's last name, which is my last name, is the last one. My mom, yeah, big family. My dad, nobody. I'm the only one left. So I've always had a chip on my shoulder, whether I believed it or not, that I was going to be the last name and everybody had to know my name. Everybody. I don't care if it was ego. I don't care what it was. I had that. I didn't have the coping mechanism that a lot of you have where you think, oh, it's materialistic. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. No. In my mind, everything mattered. My name mattered. My presence mattered. My brand mattered. Me as a human being, I wanted to be known by millions of people. So I went and I built this physique, and it allowed for me to talk to so many different people. Women were talking to me. Guys were coming up, inviting me to parties finally. It was a new experience for me. It didn't turn me into a bad person, luckily, right? I still had my head on my shoulders. I was still grounded. I wasn't humble, but I was grounded. And I was able to now start to evolve in life. And so the natural next progression was improving my charisma because I was still awkward around people. I had more confidence, but I didn't know how to carry a conversation. I didn't know how to be the shining light in a room. So I started to build my confidence. I started to talk to myself in the mirror. I started to pretend that I had my headphones in when I was really talking to somebody else, but I was actually talking to me, personally me. I was walking around. I was the crazy guy, right? I was now on social media. I finally had like the desire to want to show myself on social media. I remember Instagram had just came out during that time. And I was posting a lot of social media posts around just me, like my stories. I was posting about me. I was posting pictures of me, even though I dressed like shit during that time. I was posting. I was starting to understand presence. I was starting to understand charisma, which then allowed for me to get even more women because I was able to communicate with women and understand how to actually influence women. Not in a bad way, but influence them to be able to like me, to be attracted to me, not just by my physique, because that's just, again, if you look at it as a funnel, that's level 1, right? Level 2 is that charisma, the influence, the communication skills. Right? I started to read more books. I started to get more well-versed in different topics so I could duck and weave and move into different topics. So my charisma started to increase with these different exercises I was doing, right? In the bathroom, in my dorm room, I was doing all these things. This was my sophomore year. I started to really, really get good at speaking to people and starting to be the life of the party. Then I moved to San Francisco for a whole summer, right? For a whole half a year, actually. And that's what opened the door to social media. I started seeing people post about themselves. I started see people post about their workouts. And I got to become a trainer at Equinox. And so I realized that I want to build a brand for myself. This is when I finally realized building a personal brand is real. I learned early. A lot of you are just now learning this. I knew this early. So with my charisma, With my physique, I built a personal brand for myself and I started building a name. I remember I started at 800 followers on Instagram, right? I grew to about 10,000 followers by the end of that summer of 2017. And things started changing. I started getting invited to podcasts. I started getting invited for people to write articles on me. I started getting a lot more high level connections. People from different countries were reaching out to me. My personal brand was growing just locally and also just slightly nationally, right? I was starting to be known. People were starting to follow me. Bigger influencers were following me because they were seeing how consistent I was. I was telling my story, right? And now I'm starting to tell my story a lot more and starting to show you that I was just like you, because I don't want you to ever think that I was somebody who always had it. I always was this charismatic. I always was this in shape. I always was able to do business and make money and be financially free. I was not always like this, right? These are stages. Now we're on stage 3, the personal brand. I was building this relentlessly. I was getting laughed at too. People were like, why are you posting your stories all the time? Why are you always on social media? What are you getting out of it? Then I started getting brand deals, right? People started paying me to post and do all of these different things. I started to get clients. And I got to a point where I understood the personal brand. I understood I needed to build this thing. I understood my legacy was depending on it. I understood where the world was moving at a very early age, right? I was about 20 years old or maybe 19 years old when I finally realized this. It started to get me a lot of attention from women even more, right? I know a lot of you like women, even though you say you don't care about it. You do, right? You still want the options. It gave me the options. And then as I built this personal brand, coming back from San Francisco, coming into my senior year my sophomore year of college, right? I think it was my junior year of college. My junior year of college. I remember just everything changing for me. My name was starting to get known. People were starting to recognize me. I was invisible before this. I was probably just like you. I was literally just nobody who knew who I was. I didn't realize the power of the personal brand. I didn't realize the power of building my physique the way that I did, that being an accomplishment in itself. I just did it because I knew that I needed to do it. I had this insatiable drive to become the best version of myself. And in the process, I increased my leverage. See, a lot of you watching this right now, you don't have leverage. You don't have leverage. And what do I mean by leverage? You don't have something that can push you beyond your local environment. You don't have something that can almost get you financially free. You don't have it. Personal brand is leverage. Your physique is leverage to being more charismatic. That charisma is leverage to then building the personal brand online. That personal brand is now leverage to becoming financially free and location free, right? So I got to a certain point where I needed to make money. And I was faced with 2 different options. Do I go the corporate route or do I keep doing personal training? Because I was making a little bit of money personal training on the side, making a couple $1,000s per client per side. It was great money in college, right? I was doing really well for my age. But I didn't understand the power of the internet. Everything was in person. I was trading my time for money. And I was in a relationship at that time. And I remember the girl that I was dating at that time told me, get a real job. Get a real job. Again, feeling invisible, feeling like the person didn't know who I was. And I did it because I was a bitch. I didn't believe in myself. I went and got a job. But it was one of the best experiences that I had because it allowed for me to understand business at a high level. Because I didn't just go to my job just to go to my job. And if you're working a 9-to-5 right now, I suggest that you don't just work like a corporate drone. I suggest that you analyze everything that they're doing. I suggest that you analyze the revenue that they're generating. I suggest that you analyze the marketing that they're doing, the employees that they have. How are they hiring people? How are they getting customers? How is the money even being made? That's the most important part. How's the value being constructed? How is the CEO? What is he doing? How is he presenting himself? I analyzed all of these different things while I was at this corporate job to finally get the knowledge of how business worked. And then I decided to go do my own business, right? I'd broken up with my ex at that time before I even got in the job because things just didn't work out. We moved in 2 separate directions. I finally wanted to start my tech company. I finally wanted to do it. And I did. And I only was able to do it because of my personal brand. I'm not trying to sell you on a personal brand. I'm just telling you my story. I used my personal brand to recruit people from different parts of the world, Boston, Texas, California. I was recruiting people to work for me, right? As a 22-year-old kid, I finally had the ability to do this. And now, when I was building this company, I learned so much. I learned so much about influence. I learned so much about getting investors on board, influencing investors, persuading investors on my big vision, on my big dream. I saw more money in our company bank account than I ever saw before. I remember it was $250,000 in this bank account. I've never seen this amount of money in my whole life. And it was all through building my body. Yes, it connected. Because the reason why these people were even captivated by me was because I had this physique. And what you need to understand is that when you build the physique, it makes people almost think you're not that smart. It's like an automatic trigger. You're just a meathead. And then you create this paradoxical effect where you can speak very well. You're very articulate in how you pronounce things. You have so many different topics you can start to bounce around it because you understand communication, you understand influence, you understand persuasion. And you become this larger than life figure, this paradoxical figure, which every human being is attracted to paradoxes. Every human being. That's why my personal brand on YouTube grew so much, because I was a paradox. I'm this big black dude that's jacked that can also speak on camera for hours and never miss a beat. I can articulate my ideas clear. So that allowed for me to build this company. And ultimately it fell through because the environment changed. Companies stopped hiring. It was a talent acquisition company, basically helping other companies recruit talent in the engineering space through personal networks. We were basically a marketplace, built this whole app from scratch, iOS app, web app, Android app, built that all out, launched it, shipped it. It was in the App Store. It might still be in the App Store. If you look up Soko, you might find it, SOKO. But throughout that journey, I finally realized, like, okay, this isn't working anymore. This failed. I have a personal brand now, right? I'm not invisible anymore. I have accomplishments. People know who I am. I was on podcasts. I was traveling the world. I was seeing different areas of life. I was networking with high-level people. This all came from the foundations that I had mentioned. And I was no longer invisible. And I became the man that I am today. Building businesses online, connected with people, built a lead gen agency, ran it up to about $35,000 a month off of all of our personal brands. Sold millions of dollars worth of deals. Me, I did it. I'm not just another YouTuber that just popped up and just started, creating content. I've lived life. That's why I have so many experiences. I can make a video a day talking about something new because I've lived life. I've went through trials and tribulations. I've went through what you've went through, where you feel invisible, where you feel like things aren't going your way, where you see all these people making so much money who are not as talented as you, but because they put in the work, because they believe in themselves, they surpassed you. I know that pain. I've felt that pain. I've had that pain for years. I felt invisible. For years, I felt like nothing was working. And when I finally locked in, when I finally understood the framework that I just told you, when I finally put that into effect, everything changed. And I tell you this story now because you're at a point where you need to separate yourself, where AI is here. AI is coming to take over everything. And if you don't have a personal brand, if you can't stand out, if you can't tell your story, if you can't communicate, if you can't persuade, you are going to be a bottom tier man. This isn't to scare you. This is to wake you up. Making money at a corporate job is not going to be, it's going to be a luxury soon. Soon you won't be able to get hired. Soon you're going to need to have a name. People are going to have to see you on the internet. You're going to have to be irreplaceable. See, all men want to be irreplaceable and they want to be seen. They want to be known. They don't want to be invisible. No matter how much they cope and complain and say it's all good, it's materialistic, they go and they live on the fucking mountains like a monk. Why? Why do they do that? They isolate themselves from society because they've already lost. If you're watching this video right now, and if you've watched me over this last year since I started last February on YouTube, I know you're not a man who wants that. I know you haven't given up yet. You just haven't had the direction. You just haven't had what you need to do it. And I hope my videos are steering you in the right direction. But I felt all of that before. I know the pain of seeing everybody else in the spotlight and you being shrugged away, of reaching out to people who you look up to and just having them either not reply or tell you, good luck, kid. I know that feeling because it happened to me many times. And they came back around when I started to have motion. And you as a man need to start having motion in this society. You need to start building your brand now. You need to get on YouTube and speak in front of the camera. You need to articulate your ideas. You need to go talk with other men. You need to start building yourself in the modern world because the modern world is changing. It's not like the old days. You're not going to get rich the way Warren Buffett did. You're not going to get rich the way all of these old heads did. The new way is being you. That's the new meta. Building the personal brand, building an identity-based business or a business of your liking behind that personal brand. That's the meta. That's what everyone's talking about now that I was talking about 7 months ago. It's now. Everyone's starting to catch on, but not everyone's going to succeed because not everyone can tell their story correctly. Not everyone can enunciate themselves. Not everyone can be a spectacle. Not everyone can be a walking paradox that other people like. Everyone's flooding the arena. The arena's flooded. But the warriors that are going to win are the warriors that actually understand the game, that actually understand presence, that understand, okay, I need to build a physique because all the most successful people online, they have very, very good physiques. You look at Alex Hormozy. You look at even Iman Gadzhi. He got in shape. You don't have to be huge and big and crazy, but you have to be under 15% body fat. You have to have some muscle on you. You have to have some presence to you when you show up. Your shoulders are broad. It looks like you actually have something to say. It looks like you're actually a man of substance, a man of accomplishments. You have to have that. I'm a walking billboard of that. My whole life was built on that. I was able to do so much outside of just fitness. Fitness was just cool. That was a starting point. Some of you have gifts outside of fitness that you need to show people that you need to do, but you can't do that because you can't even get the attention to show the gifts that you have. And so you give up and you say, I don't need attention. You start reading all of these philosophical books about how you don't need attention and you just need to be isolated and you just forget all, you become nihilistic. And I'd rather be narcissistic than nihilistic in this day and age. Because narcissism pays. Nihilism puts you in the fucking grave broke. That's just the reality. Thinking everything is horrible and you just crawl into a hole, that's where you lose. But as a man, I would rather be narcissistic in this world and put myself out there. And it's not really even narcissism, but that's what people say when they get triggered by what you're doing. Oh, he's a narcissist. No. You're just playing the game the way that the game needs to be played. You're running plays. I'm telling you right now, it is your job to do this. 2025 and beyond. That's what's going to separate men. That's what's going to get that's what's going to be the difference between a man who is successful in life and the man who falls behind and becomes like a lot of the people who still use typewriters to this day when we have computers. They refuse to do it. They're broke, they sit, they're starving artists. They refuse to move into the modern age. I know it sounds like a dystopia. I know it sounds bad. I wish I didn't even need to be online. I wish I could just sit in my own corner because I'm naturally an introvert. But I had to extrovertize myself because that's what it takes. If you want to be a man that has a legacy in this world, that's what it's going to take. And I refuse to be the last Metellus and be forgotten. I'm not going to be forgotten. I've only had the impact of, on YouTube alone, 3 million people. I want hundreds of millions. I want my name to be known. I want to impact hundreds of millions of people, men and women, but mostly men, because we need it. Because I was in the stage that you're in. I hope this video motivated you to get out of being invisible and start to be visible. Start to show yourself. Start to become the best version of yourself. Start to help other people. Start to be financially free. Because your life is depending on it. Your legacy is depending on it. And if you've watched this far, I have a special surprise for you. I am building the New Breed Accelerator. It is my life's work at this point moving forward. I've jumped around with different business models because they did not hit home for me. Fitness coaching, I've coached many people. They've had insane results. You can check my Instagram. People are raving about it. Good. I've built the personal brand coaching business. I've helped people get to 10K a month. I have the testimonials on my Instagram as well if you want to see that. I've helped people jumpstart their business, get to 10,000, 11,000 subscribers. YouTubers that you see now, I've worked with. And I've gotten to the point where I want to build something that's holistic, a holistic transformation, where I help you build your physique if you don't have that yet, to under 15% body fat with a significant amount of muscle. I help you with your presence, communication, persuasion, influence, all of that. How you speak, how you walk into a room, command respect. I want to help you build your personal brand online. That's stage 3. Each of these are stages. Stage 1 was physique. Stage 2 was presence. Stage 3 is personal brand. Unique personal brand that stands out, that you can be proud of, that you can literally garner millions of views and reach from that. And stage 4, monetization. Building an identity-based business is what I call it. Building a business around your identity, who you are, and what you want to do in the world. Do you want to help people? Do you want to help businesses? Whatever that is, you build a business around your identity. I will help you with all 4 of those phases. This is something that I need to run with for the next decade, that I need to build on top of for the next decade. I only want 5 men so far. I'm opening it up to 5 men. I'm doing a beta launch, small beta launch, and I post it on YouTube because I know there will be some of you guys who are interested. If you feel like, and I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't have the ambition to do it. I'm not going to baby you. I will give you the frameworks. You will have one-on-one calls with me. You will have group calls with me. You'll have other men who are ambitious as well, but I'm not babying you. I'm not making you do anything. If you feel like you're up to the challenge and you feel like you can actually transform your life, you need this total transformation. There's more to you. If you already know that you're cooked, stay cooked. Don't hit me up. I don't want to help people who already feel like they're cooked. But if you know that you have what it takes, now this will be an investment. This will be an investment. I won't lie to you. It will be an investment that will be worth my time and worth your time. But I know I have all the frameworks. I have all the experience to transform men to be the new breed of men in this modern world. The new breed of leaders who lead other men, who lead other women as well, who lead families, who build themselves up in this modern world. And it might start with you. So if that's you and you're interested, the link will be in the description. Apply, book a call with me. Be serious. This is not a call just to talk about your problems. This is not a call just to get free advice. This is a call to see if you are a man that actually can do this, that actually has the potential to be a part of this program. I appreciate you. I hope this video was touching. I hope this video opened your eyes. More videos coming around my story, around my life, around my experiences, around my lessons. I love all y'all. I'll catch you on the next video.